What's up, everyone? My name is Security Denied, and welcome to my whiteboard video! The first of its kind for me. Yes, I am joining the hype train of whiteboard videos because apparently they're really popular in the Destiny 2 community. I mean, just look at it. All it says is Destiny 2 predictions. And that's what this video is. I am going to be predicting a couple of the expansions that are going to be coming up in Destiny 2. No, I don't think they're accurate, nor do I think that they're going to happen, but they're really cool and awesome ideas, and I would personally love to see them added to the game. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button if you are enjoying this video. So let's get on with predicting Destiny 2 expansions. So, in order to predict Destiny 2 expansions, let's first take a look at the past expansions and see what we can learn about them. Starting with Destiny 1. All right, so we're going to draw a timeline of events on the expansions and the main enemy type that we fight during that expansion. Ignore my 2-year-old handwriting and drawings. So first up, we got D1 Vanilla. All right, and the main enemy type that we fight in Destiny 1 Vanilla campaign is the Vex. That is a bad That's a better one. All right. And then the next expansion that we got after that was Dark Below. And the main enemy type was Hive. Then we got House of Wolves. Main enemy type was Fallen. Then we had arguably the best, the Taken King. With the enemy type being Hive, of course. Then we had Rise of Iron. With the main enemy type being the Fallen. All right, so that is the Destiny 1 timeline. Now we're going to move on to Destiny 2 timeline. And of course, we start with D2 campaign vanilla. With the main enemy type being the Cabal. They're in the Red War. Okay. After that, we had the Curse of Osiris. With the enemy type being Vex. Then we had Warmind. With the enemy type Hive once again. Okay, it does look like Hive. Next up, we got Forsaken. Enemy type being the Scorn. Doing something new there. Which ultimately led to a great expansion. I don't know why Forsaken is so high. Let's fix that. Forsaken. Alright, next up. We got Shadowkeep. with the enemy being Hive once again. The next up, we got Beyond Light. With the Fallen. Next up, we got Witch Queen. With the Hive. And... Alright, we're going to do one more time. Okay, one more. This time I'll be down here. Alright, next up, we got Lightfall. The enemy being Cabal. Next up, we got Final Shade. Enemy being the Dread. After that, we got the Edge of Fate. Enemy being Fallen. Next up, we got Renegades. The enemy being Cabal. Alright. Okay. So we got a timeline. What can we do with this timeline? Okay. We got our Destiny 1 timeline and then our 2 Destiny 2 timelines. So what can we learn? We can learn a few things. First of all, let's pick out what the most popular is. So let's do a little flipperoo. All right, let's do some math. So we'll start with the least used and go to the most used. Okay. So we have the Scorn with 1 expansion. Then we have the Dread with also 1 expansion. Next up is Vex with 2. Cabal with 3. Fallen with 4. We've got the Hive with 5. Okay. So what can we learn from this? We can obviously learn the favorites. That favorite being Hive. So what makes the Hive so special? Well, the lore and the story is just immaculate. You could do so much with it. It is so deep and interesting with Hive magic, as well as the Hive gods, the worm gods, the sword logic. I mean, you got a ton of stuff to pick from, and it's always been interesting. Oryx is such a top tier character, and so it's hard to not understand why it's, the favorite of all of the Destiny 2 enemy archetypes. Now, what is arguably the least favorite? It's the one that kicked us off on this journey in the first place. It's the Vex. The Vex have only gotten 2 expansions. One of them being a little less so, the other being slightly more than that. It was the very first campaign that we ever went through with Destiny 1 launch. The next one after that is Curse of Osiris. Then after that, we've had nothing. No major expansion dedicated directly to the Vex. I mean, we've had a lot of seasons, like Season of the Undying, Season of the Splicer, and we also had an episode, episode Echoes, recently, that was dedicated to the Vex. So we've also had several raids and other things dedicated to the Vex, but not a dedicated expansion. So it's kind of hard to not see them as the least favorite. And the story with the Vex isn't super interesting because we pretty much know everything about it. They are a Vex network of hive minds. Well, I guess a singular hive mind that singular purpose is to accomplish their own final shape, also known as the Convergence, where they convert everything into Vex. Every planet, every being, everything becomes Vex. Okay? That is their end goal. The issue is that there's a lot of mystery surrounding the Vex that I think people overlook. And I think it's because these are left a mystery that we don't really have that engagement or desire to learn more, is because we don't have the seasoning to make the Vex better. You know, we have a little bit of snippets that we can guess are the origins of the Vex, like the lore entry that talks about how when the Gardener and the Winnower entered our reality, there was another, I guess, cluster of creatures, like equation creatures, that would just solve equations, I guess. I don't know. And they're described as being there since the times of the first stars. So they've been around forever. We don't know if this is directly the Vex or not, but we can assume that it is the Vex because we don't really know where they came from. So there is a lot of mystery surrounding the lore of the Vex as a whole, but we just haven't explored it at all. So in this video, I want to kind of go over an idea for an expansion for the Vex that I would personally like to see, as well as one for the Hive, because the Hive are my favorite, and I think they're super cool and interesting, and I wanted to make an expansion for them. So flipping our board back over, let's figure out where on our timeline these expansions would go. I think for the Hive expansion, I would put it either right after Renegades, or the one after, or I know that the Fate Saga is supposed to last a couple years, or maybe just 2 years, I don't know. It's supposed to last a little while. And I think that the Hive expansion that I created fits well within the Fate Saga. However, I don't think that the Vex expansion that I created fits directly well with the Fate Saga, and you'll see why when I explain it. So let's start with the Hive, since we can place that pretty soon in the timeline, and then I'll go over the Vex expansion that I created. Alright, so for the Hive expansion, I came up with this idea during the time when the Lord of the Rings collaboration idea was circulating the Destiny community, and when a bunch of other ideas for collaborations were in our minds, basically. And so I wanted to figure out what a Lord of the Rings expansion would look like in Destiny, and I came up with a pretty cool Hive expansion that would also pair pretty well with the Fate Saga. So I'll give a couple story beats, maybe a couple exotics that I think would be cool, maybe a dungeon idea. So let's get started with the story idea that I had for this expansion. So we're just starting the Fate Saga, trying to stop a great extinction level event from happening. And we still haven't had a Xivu Arath expansion yet for Destiny, and I think this would be a very fun way to do her expansion. After the events of the Season of the Witch, and Eris Morn severed Xivu Arath from her own throne world, she probably felt weak and very afraid of death at that time, so she kind of went into hiding. And I think while in hiding, she began to tamper with Hive magic and found a way to create an artifact she can put half of her soul into and enhance her own power. This could be called the Ring of Death, similar to the Crown of Sorrow and the Tablets of Ruin, something like that. And now that Xivu Arath feels strong and safe and secure, her eyes are set on our world. She is the Hive God of War and Conquest, after all, similar to Sauron, being a godlike being who is obsessed with conquering Middle-earth. Except Xivu Arath is here to destroy the Earth, like she's done on so many other worlds in the lore. She snuck her way to Earth while we weren't looking, while we were busy on Kepler, and she started carving up the Earth similar to how her nephew, Crota, carved up our moon. In doing so, she set off a bunch of chain reaction events. I'm talking like volcanoes everywhere, pieces of Earth and giant cracks and crevices all over the place. I'm thinking part of the last city has been submerged in lava, citizens losing their lives. The Vanguard is in chaos trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening, and what they can do to help or fix all the issues that are happening. And while the Vanguard are frozen in fear, our Vanguard is going to take action, right? Similar to how Frodo and Sam decided to accomplish the quest on their own, basically, without the help of the Fellowship. So our Guardian is going to march directly into Mordor, or wherever Xivu Arath is setting up her base, next to the largest mountain she could find, and call it, I don't know, like Mountain of Despair or something like that, similar to Mount Doom. And we would discover that there is a new faction of Hive that we can call the Volcanic Hive or something. And these Volcanic Hive look very similar to a dungeon boss that we have fought against before. Now, these Hive will be very unique and special because they'll have an intrinsic trait where every melee hit or hit by them inflicts scorch on us because they're literally made of lava. Pretty much. And I think it'd be so cool to have a scary, burning version of the Hive as well as an entire faction. Now, with Xivu Arath carving up the Earth, she's also carved up ancient ruins that have been lost to time, similar to the Mines of Moria, right? And this could be home for our dungeon. Now, I don't want the dungeon to take place after the campaign has ended as a kind of continuation story. I want it to happen somewhat in the middle of the campaign, where it's kind of like a stepping stone to the next half of the campaign story, similar to how the Mines of Moria are that kind of that moment where the Fellowship has to traverse this section in order to reach basically the last half of their run to Mordor and to the end of their quest. Now, in the dungeon, they could do a whole lot with it, right? They could have ogres being represented as a Balrog being covered in shadow and flame. Give it some special powers like light whips, things like that. You can have the Scorn represent the goblins that have infested the area. You could do a whole lot with the Mines of Moria dungeon, as well as ruins being unearthed by Xivu Arath's carving of Earth. It's probably also unveiled some ancient weapons and relics or exotics that we can use as guardians, such as staff weapons, right? Magical weapons that can do some cool property things. I'm picturing something similar to Cube World, if any of you real ones remember that game. You can play as a sorcerer or wizard or whatever it's called, and you could have a staff, a wand, or some rings. And the staff has a couple of different firing modes where it summons like a fire tornado if you're with the fire aspect, or a water tornado that heals you with your mastery is water. And I think it'd be super fun to have a staff that aligns its mastery with whatever super you have equipped and does unique things based on that subclass. I was also thinking about maybe adding another weapon archetype, such as daggers. I was watching the Hytale gameplay video, and they started it off by introducing these daggers, these dual-bladed daggers. And I think it'd be cool to have a primary ammo weapon that is a dual-wielded daggers, basically. And I just think it would be so much fun to mix up the meta a little bit to see how they would function within the Destiny universe. And the rest of the campaign would be us traversing through the mountains, fighting many bosses to eventually reach Mordor and defeat Xivu Arath by destroying the One Ring within this massive volcano. Either in just a massive campaign ending story or a raid if we get enough money to have a raid and a dungeon in one go. I just think that that idea is super cool, and I can't help but think about it being in the Destiny universe, especially as a Hive expansion. So let me know what you guys think about the Hive expansion. But for now, let's talk about the gigantic robotic elephant in the room, the Vex. The Vex hold a special place in the heart of Destiny, but for some reason have been left mostly forgotten. I mean, they're kind of popular right now, but let's be real. The only reason that they're popular right now is because they're wearing clothes and they gamble. But when are the Vex actually taken seriously? I mean, the last time that they were really taken seriously is the Curse of Osiris. I mean, we can say that Echoes was a serious moment for the Vex, but they weren't the Vex. They were all just Maya Sundaresh, right? The Vex were just under her control. And let's be real, I think most of us are kind of burnt out from the Maya Sundaresh storyline, and the fact that it didn't start well with Lightfall and listening to those audio logs week to week over and over again kind of burnt us out already on the Maya Sundaresh storyline. Like, don't get me wrong, I think she's cool. And the fact that she's the one that kickstarted the Fate Saga to begin with by killing 3, I think that should be a pretty big deal. But it's just not that interesting because she's not really doing anything. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe I'm just not a fan of her storyline. Listen, I don't know what it is, but I think that the original Vex storyline is so much more interesting. The fact that there is a Vex network, a hive mind, that wants to convert everything into Vex is just so cool. I think the story of Curse of Osiris had amazing potential. Did it fall a little flat and create some hilarious memes? Yeah, it did. But I think that the Vex have the most potential out of any other enemy faction because we don't know a whole lot about them. We don't know about their origins, where they came from. We don't know why they want to convert everything into Vex other than to complete their version of the final shape, the convergence. We don't really know a whole lot about them. I mean, we can piece bits and pieces here and there from lore cards and things like that about how when the Winnower and the Gardener came into our reality, the Vex were also created and they started doing their Vex things. But other than that, we don't really know a whole lot. And I think the one thing that we don't know the most is where have they been? Where has the Vex mind, the Vex network, been all this time since we've kind of left them in the dust, right? And that question has got me wondering, why are they waiting? What are they waiting for? What is going to happen when they're done waiting? Are they going to do something big, or are they just going to slowly disappear into obscurity? My thought process is that the Vex network is waiting for something to happen. Considering that they can see the timeline like it's a Bob Ross painting and just see every single detail all at once and then interact with it as they wish, I think that they're waiting for something. And I think it's going to be an event that causes them to start to act. And this is where I think that it won't fit well with the Fate Saga, because the way the Vex and the Nine act are very similar to each other. The fact that they both can see the timeline in its entirety is something that only they can do, and the fact that they can change it at will whenever they wish is something that only they can do. And so it appears that the Vex and the Nine are both trying to adjust our fate according to their wishes. And right now, the Fate Saga is 100% focused on the Nine and binding the Nine to fulfill the prophecy, or to not fulfill the prophecy, but stop the prophecy of total extinction and annihilation. And so I don't think that the Vex are going to come in until after the Nine problems have been solved. Because I would put them on the same level of fate changing and time manipulation, stuff like that. And so I'd put it either just after or maybe a little bit later, which is unfortunate because I know we haven't had a Vex expansion in a long time. So I'm guessing that they're probably going to fill one with the Maya Sundaresh storyline, but let's be honest, it's not for me. So I came up with an expansion idea for the Vex network and kind of what I think would be a really good one. And I hope you do too, so let me know down in the comment section down below. So this is kind of how I would imagine the story to look like for this expansion. I want the first reveal of what the Vex are doing to show up at the end of the dungeon of the previous expansion, right? If they're kind of doing the 6-month thing, I want it to be the one before, to have the dungeon, and then post dungeon, I want there to be a cinematic showing that the actions that we took as Guardians has set off the chain of events that is going to cause the Vex to act. Just to kind of tie everything together into one cohesive story and like hit all of the narrative beats to lead up to a big expansion like this. Then post dungeon, after this great thing or whatever happens in the dungeon, I want Bungie to create an ARG specifically made by the Vex for us to solve how to get into the Vex network, how to stop the Vex network, or something to solve this big Vex problem, right? I'd love a giant puzzle for the community to dive into to figure out how to stop it, right? And I think this would also be really cool because the Vex can affect every time. And I like to put our in real life timeline in there because it would feel like the Vex has an effect in our timeline as well. So we need to do something about it too. You know, it's just like a fun little idea to get the community involved in this Vex hunt, basically. Then once the expansion hits, I want to go into the Vex network and defeat the God of the Hive or the Vex network itself and erase the Vex from all of time. From every timeline, I want to erase them from existence. Now, I know what you're saying. Why? We just got Vex with clothes and gambling. Like, why would you take all the Vex away? And I think it's because their story hasn't really gone anywhere. And now that the darkness is over, the little Vex branch off that worship the darkness is kind of dwindling in unbelief. And the fact that this expansion is going to be the one where the Vex are going to convert everything in the solar system into Vex, it would probably mean that we need to stop the Vex for good. Or else they're just going to keep coming back and doing the same thing over and over again because they can time travel and manipulate time how they wish and blah, 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 blah. Okay? I would like to erase them from all of time. Just imagine the cinematic masterpiece that it would be to see all of the Vex from every timeline disappear. Okay? And to see the repercussions of what would happen once we got rid of the Vex from all of time. Because that means Curse of Osiris wouldn't happen. Hip hip hooray. But that would also mean that the Destiny 1 story didn't happen. So Bungie could use this expansion as kind of a soft reset for Destiny. Kind of setting everything back and reverting things back to whenever they were, right? Or they could do whatever they want with it. But I'd like to see what kind of repercussions this expansion would have on the Destiny universe as a whole. And it'd kind of be a full circle moment for Destiny, considering that the Vex is what started this all with the Black Garden, and now we're going into their territory to defeat the heart of the Vex. I think it'd be a fun narrative point to circle back and do that. So those were a couple of my ideas for a few of the expansions. I know the Vex one was a little short. I didn't really put as much detail into describing exactly what's going on. but I think I really enjoyed the expansion ideas that I've come out with, and I think they would be a lot of fun to delve into story wise and narrative wise for the Fate Saga and beyond. Um, I look forward to seeing what Bungie cooks with the next roadmap for the next year. I'm excited for the next major update for Renegades. We'll have to wait and see what kind of story implications that it holds, and if it teases us for whatever comes next in the Phase Saga. So look out for all my future videos discussing the future of Destiny, as well as any other news and things that go on in the world and in the universe. Thank you all for coming and watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye!